Baris Baktaş just changed the conversation with a single candid sentence. Next to her, I'm at ease. Welcome to Turkish series stars, friends. Before we dive into the heart of this story, hit subscribe and show your support so you don't miss any of the twists we uncover. In the world of celebrity buzz, some remarks don't just trend, they redefine reputations overnight. One carefully chosen phrase can shake the image an actor has spent years protecting, and this time, that tremor came from Baris himself as he opened up about his relationship with Yağmur. For years, Baris has been a vault. Even at the most heated premieres and in the most invasive press lines, he mastered the smile that said everything and nothing at once. He talked scripts, training, craft, and sidestepped love with the precision of a pro. But not this time. He didn't answer with a half-shrug or a coy laugh. He spoke with a clarity that stunned even those who thought they knew his boundaries. He began with something simple, almost disarming. I'm the kind of man who prefers things unfiltered. That opening sentiment spread across social media in seconds, but it was the follow-up that really detonated. There's an innocence to Yağmur that disarmed me from day one. What does that really mean? Is it just a sweet proclamation, or does it signal a turning point for Baris, a switch from guarding his heart to letting us see it? Did this affection, which took root after they collaborated on a project, form by design or by pure inevitability? And he didn't stop at charm or praise. He gave shape to the space between them, saying, I can speak with her about anything, then adding, with her, I relax, and finally acknowledging, we took our step into being together after truly getting to know each other. Clearer than ever. More vulnerable than ever. And somehow more grounded than we've seen him in a long time. So in this video, we're asking, why is Baris Baktaş breaking his silence now? What places Yağmur on a different level from anyone he's been linked to in the past? Is this bond built to last, or just a beautiful moment? And what whispers from the set and the private gatherings don't make it to public feeds? We're unpacking all of it. Don't go away. It started with that single line about loving what's real, and the gossip universe went quiet for a beat, the kind of silence that happens just before a headline hits like thunder. Among Turkey's most guarded stars, Baris stands near the top, a man who has learned to let the work speak while he keeps everything else shaded. Yet the words he chose this time were different. He didn't lace them with mystery. He didn't leave room for misconstrued subtext. He framed his feelings, straightforward and plain-spoken. He prefers authenticity, and in Yağmur he sees a kind of unguarded glow that reached him where staged charm can't. Her unstudied, youthful light pulled me in, he explained, and suddenly the typical phrase, the one the tabloids throw around lazily, felt like it belonged to a truer story. Because he immediately anchored it in something deeper. When I'm with her, conversation has no edges. No topic feels off-limits. That is the detail that electrified fans who have watched him dodge personal questions for years. It wasn't just that she is striking. It's that their minds meet in the spaces between takes and long nights, that the quiet, unflashy hours are where they flourish. According to insiders who saw them at work, they'd chat between setups about craft, books, family, and the silly things that make long days lighter. For someone like Baris, measured, meticulous, and careful about who gets real access, that's not a footnote. That's the headline. So what does I feel comfortable with her translate to in the language of buzz? Trust. There are 1,000 ways to word it, but he spelled it out further, because I'm open around her and I can just be myself. I can say what we felt after a beautiful project simply evolved. No schemes. No carefully orchestrated on-set affair. No publicity play that burns bright and fades faster. This wasn't fireworks for the paparazzi's lens. It was a slow-bloom friendship, the kind that doesn't beg for attention and doesn't need to be proven every 3 days. If there's a formula people whisper about, friends first then love, they seem to have written their own, quieter version of it. And that project line matters, after a good project. Sets often compress time. The late nights and shared scenes can push two people closer too quickly or grind them to dust. But this story took the long way. They were cordial and controlled at work, never feeding the rumor mill with suggestive moments. When filming wrapped, though, the distance didn't stay. Conversations turned into deliberate plans, coffee, then dinners, then walks that lasted longer than expected. Friends saw it, the careful pace, the way they protected the privacy of what was unfolding. Over time, something inevitable took shape. We became us only after we really learned each other, he said, making it sound less like a cinematic twist and more like the healthiest decision he could have made. Within the gossip world, that line felt like a manifesto. In a space where relationships explode, flicker, and vanish between posts, here was a mature approach, almost old-fashioned in its patience. It marked him as different from his own past, and from the pattern that many expect. So the question everyone keeps asking, why speak now, of all times? If you've followed his history, you know how expertly he avoids being photographed in private moments, how he has dodged labels and kept his heart circling outside the headlines. Why lift the veil now? Behind the scenes, two reasons keep surfacing. First, there's nothing left to protect from discovery. Those closest to them have known for a while, and keeping it half-secret no longer serves anyone. Second, and more compelling, respect. Sources close to Baris say his decision to talk was about honoring Yağmur openly, stepping out of the vague we're just friends fog and naming what she means to him. Not letting her carry the weight of ambiguity. In a corner of the gossip world that has sometimes criticized him for being emotionally elusive, this was read as a new kind of accountability. For the first time, he's standing in front of a relationship and calling it his. And yet, if you scroll through their profiles, you won't find the usual choreography. No soft launch photos from the same balcony. No mirrored captions. No hand-in-hand carpet arrivals just for the shot. The grid stays quiet. And still, that quiet doesn't read as distance. If anything, it reads as steadiness, a relationship unfolding away from the glare, echoing through words rather than curated images. For watchers used to tying authenticity to online display, it's a curveball. For those who believe intimacy doesn't need an audience, it's a sign of something grown-up and sure. Much of the intrigue, of course, centers on Yağmur herself. She does not give eager interviews. She doesn't dangle teasers for morning shows or dress her timeline in hints designed to fuel speculation. Friends describe her as grounded, protective of her space, and uninterested in performative oversharing. That, say insiders, is one of the qualities that pulled Baris closer, the calm, the balanced way she moves, how she keeps her private life intact without turning it into a mystery game. It's a far cry from the stormy chapters gossip lovers remember from his earlier years. Chapters that came with noise, breathless headlines, and too many conclusions drawn from a single blurry photo. Has the old Baris disappeared? The answer reverberating in celebrity circles is yes, there's been a shift, but not a polished PR pivot. The tone of his words, their timing, the absence of marketing polish, everything signals something real. When he talks about preferring what's unvarnished, finding ease by her side, and letting love unfold after friendship, it paints a picture of a man more emotionally present than before. One insider summed it up cleanly, he's done outrunning love. So where is this relationship headed? That's the question echoing through every comment section. It's early to slap a date on wedding rumors, and neither of them has offered a breadcrumb to feed those predictions. But the seriousness of his statements makes one thing obvious, this isn't a whim. When he emphasized that they began dating after spending real time learning each other, he cracked open the door to the future just enough for hopeful speculation, not so wide that it turns into pressure. In the rooms where TV insiders trade scoops, a quiet bet is forming, this could be the one that lasts. In the end, what we're seeing is a love that started quietly and is moving forward with strength, not spectacle. Maybe that's why it's making such a noise without much noise at all. One conversation, a handful of sentences, and a stance that doesn't bend to trends, sometimes that's all it takes for the heart of a story to hit hardest. That's what makes this moment linger, the feeling that Baris didn't just give us a headline, he let us see how he has changed. He isn't hiding behind roles anymore, he's showing up with his feelings, letting us hear the truth in his own voice. He isn't belittling the weight of love or pretending it's an afterthought beside his work. He's approaching it with intention, with care, with a kind of discipline that mirrors the way he studies a script. And on the other side of that choice is Yağmur, quiet, steadfast, letting silence speak for her. If you ask me, that quiet is the backbone here. It's what makes the relationship feel sheltered rather than concealed, assured rather than hyped. So what do you think, friends? Is this the first chapter of something that will lead them down the aisle one day? Or is Baris simply savoring a season of calm after years of guarded distance? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your take on whether this is the right match at the right time, whether the patience in their beginning is the secret that will keep them together when the frenzy flares again. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Turkish series stars, and turn on notifications. Because the world of celebrity love stories never sleeps, and we'll be back with more details as they unfold. See you in the next one. Happy New Year!